Yeah, so as you know, we're not that happy with Firmino on triggered reds here, and we were talking about who we'd sign and who we'd like if we'd like a different style of play, a different formation, and I'm banging on the door for us to at least bid for Erling Haaland. Like at least put our name in the hat, not to actually go and sign him, but if he becomes available, which he's going to, Liverpool have to be one of the teams going for him. The only thing is why we won't sign him will be all the competition, and that might sound like an obvious one, but that's the only reason I can think of it. It's not anything to do with lack of funds because of the money we get from TV money. Even in the COVID era, we've not really had we've had no fans in the stadium. I don't think that'll matter. The Nike deal came in last season. So I think we can afford to broker a Haaland deal, especially with the way this Edwards negotiates his deals, it seems to be. Whether he could do that again with Dortmund, who knows? But Dortmund do seem quite inept when they're dealing with their own players. They just let them go to Bayern Munich half the time. And it's like, fucking hell, we just have a backbone for once. So, I mean, he'll probably end up going to Bayern, won't he? And the other talk is the other big one in Europe at the minute, who Liverpool won't have a chance of getting, Mbappe. And I put that post up, didn't I, the other day, them two in a Liverpool kit going, who would you rather have for us? And don't comment both as a joke. Say which one you'd rather have and why. And most people did actually pick Haaland. And, I agree with that myself. If you were picking either one of them in the fantasy transfer realms, I'd rather go for Haaland myself over Mbappe. I don't know what you'd think into the realism of actually signing one of them players and who you would rather have and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have Haaland, and the proof's in the pudding in relation to the goals that he scored. And he's also playing in a better league, and he's also playing for a better team, in my opinion. Dortmund are a better club than PSG, and the German league is more competitive. Not much more, but it is more competitive. Now, we obviously had not first refusal, but we were playing his old team, and everyone was saying Haaland scored 20 and 20 this season, or whatever it was. It was something stupid like that. Or no, it was even worse. He'd scored even better. He scored 14 and 8. It was something crazy like that. And all the talk was about him. And then I don't know where we signed Minamino. He was just too diminutive a player. Like he's not going to physically do it for us. Then we get the Nike deal, and everyone's going, well, Mbappe's going to sign now because we've joined Nike. Fucking hell. How stupid can you be? Like, that's just not going to...
Talk about a fucking stretch,
Stretch and a half. And I get it from what you're saying with we've got Nike money. Not that we're with Nike, but I get that. But Liverpool, name me a player that Liverpool have bought that everybody else in the world wanted, and that was an established player. The last player I can remember who fit that mold was Fernando Torres.
Yeah, I was going to say Torres.
What was that, 05, 06?
We signed him in 2007, yeah, after the final. 26 mil, was it? Or 21 mil rising to something. Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? To my knowledge, I can't really think of anyone after that. I agree with you. Because Luis Suarez he wasn't an unknown. He was banging them in for Ajax, but he was more of he was never going to go to a top club after Ajax, and we were just a step above Ajax at the time under Dalglish. So as good as he was, Suarez, yeah, it wasn't him. I mean, a few clubs wanted Thiago, didn't they? But it was not really established.
But yeah, but he with Suarez, he was called the fucking cannibal of Amsterdam. So nobody wanted him after biting that kid. I remember you were just going around going, arr, arr, pretending to be Suarez for ages because you loved it. But with Thiago, you're right. But with him, it's his options were kind of limited, and he was a free transfer as well. So he near enough a free transfer.
29 mil.
Play in today's market, it's buttons, isn't it? I'm not talking like Mbappe, because he's played for Barca already. He's played for Bayern already. He's not likely to go to Madrid. He's not likely to go to PSG because he's still a competitive player. and he's already played for Pep, so he doesn't want to take a step to that way either. So we were kind of like the logical move, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It seemed like the only moves on the table for him were to re-sign with Bayern or come to us.
Yeah.
The only reason I mentioned Thiago though is when I'm thinking like of established players.
You're not wrong.
Because is he the best player we've signed? Like when we signed him, he just won the treble with Bayern Munich. So there's an argument, and he was probably the best centre mid in that team. So there's an argument that he was the best centre mid in the world with De Bruyne. I mean, I think for last season, like you can't really dispute that as it's logical fact almost. So
A football and centre mid, yeah, 100%.
The fact that we probably got arguably the best centre midfielder in the world at that moment was very un-Liverpool. Like it doesn't really happen like that for us. So I was surprised that we got him, but sticking with the point, like when teams are all chasing the one player, I mean, yeah, it probably is Fernando Torres, isn't it? That he's our last one really that we went for.
I know City wanted Virgil, didn't he? Because they exposed that on the Man City documentary on Prime. But at the same time, he was playing for Southampton, lad. Like he wasn't a world star, was he? And you're talking about potentially, you're talking with Haaland and Mbappe, best player in the world for the next 10 years, either of them. You know, the very Messi Ronaldo. Not how they play, but in that sort of way, aren't they? They are the next Messi and Ronaldo, you would say. And I'd go for Haaland for a few reasons. You've commented on it yourself. He's lightning for one. He's speedy as fuck. He's a number 9, and we need a number 9. I think you were telling me the buyout clause is 70 million. I would go for that, but in my opinion, you've already said it. You'd probably go to Bayern or you'll go to Madrid. Benzema's on the way out, and Lewandowski is as well, just because of their age.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's not so much that the money's so cheap, because based on that, every top 10 established Premier League club could sign Haaland. You know, your Premier League club that's in 10th place, in no danger of getting relegated, they've been here for like beyond 10 years. They've probably got the financial might of someone like Inter Milan.
Well,
like
a team like Palace would have, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. So financial constraints don't really impact Premier League teams in that sense.
Burnley just swoop in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I want you to do what Grant Holt done for Norwich.
I've been saving up for 10 years for you.
Fucking hell. Imagine.
Why was my accent just Sean Penn? Sean Bean in Game of Thrones, by the way.
Sean Penn. I've been saving up 10 years for you.
Yours was probably Sean Dyche, and mine was just fucking Game of Thrones Bean.
Yeah, funny that. But the thing I like with Haaland compared to Mbappe is he's a rarer type of player. He's more of an anomaly, whereas Mbappe, although them players are as good as they are, they're not rare as Haaland. Like for Mbappe, you've got Anelka, you've got Henry. You know, them players do come across every now and again, albeit not that frequently. But he is in that mold of Henry, and maybe it's a French striker thing. I don't know, but I don't know. Show me another player like Haaland. Like he does seem like once in a 30-year type player.
Yeah,
you know, that tall, that quick, that clinical, that powerful. What's that?
Good touch.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Zlatan, but more classy.
Quicker as well.
So like him, he can finish like him, but he's more silky, isn't he?
Yeah, and he looks like he'd bully defenders as well, whereas Mbappe's obviously got to rely on a bit of intricacy, skill and pace, where Haaland could probably have a bad game and then just turn into a Grant Holt if he wants, you know, that type of player. If it's not going well for him, like footballing wise, he might just think, fuck it, lad, I'm going to start throwing you about. And he'd be tailor-made for the Premier League as well.
I'd love to see him in the Prem, you know, regardless of where, but just so much logic to make the move for him. And this video's fastly turning into, you know, the Haaland show, isn't it? But like that'll be the name of our next poddy. But like Klopp managed Dortmund, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he already signed Minamino. Like Minamino knows Haaland. Minamino probably knows his agents. Like they might have the same agent. There's so many rational reasons to make the move.
No, do you know who his agent is?
Yeah, Nino Raiola, is it?
Yeah. And I guarantee the way we do business, Liverpool, because everything's the Liverpool way, we'd be like, oh, say he wanted to come, we'd probably be say something like, well, we think your agent might be bad for you, and which he is, by the way. He's a fucking rat, that Raiola. But knowing Liverpool the way we are, the way we operate is, I don't know. It's like very honest, isn't it?
We're whiter than white, aren't we?
Yeah, like we're very honest, and we'd be like, we just don't want the baggage that comes with you and Mino Raiola, and it's like, fuck off. Just if it ever come to the fact that we could sign him, just fucking make it happen if you can. My opinion on Haaland is just very black and white. I think we should, if we can, go and get him. But he only had a £17 million release clause at Salzburg.
Yeah.
So that sort of confirms that even though his release clause is still low, if no one really got him, then it showed he's in that position, isn't he? As is Mbappe, where they can just go to whoever they want. It won't come down to a fee because, like I've said, there'll be hundreds of teams that can meet the fee. It'll just be whatever wage packet he gets, and how the club. He'll probably sign for someone where he wants the club to build around them. He's in that position, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a fair point, and it begs the question of why didn't a bigger team sign him then? You know what I mean? Is there an attitude issue? Was it something to do with Raiola? I know there was a video going around a while back where he was pissed as a fart trying to get onto a boat, and the bouncers wouldn't let him on. It was like a yacht party, and he'd give it the old "Don't you know who I am" thing. But
remember, you used to do that. Don't you know who I am?
I was going to say you do that in Pop World, though, don't you? So it's no fucking issue. Steve's on the door. Don't you know me? Fucking here every week.
It always works. Go in, sir.
It works, doesn't it? But yeah, so maybe there is an issue about it. But you're right. I mean, with Mbappe, how many he's not a striker, is he? He's more of a Henry, left side cutting, like you say. But you've got players around there that people don't even talk about that are top level at doing that. They're a dime a dozen. You've got fucking Yannick Carrasco, Serge Gnabry. You've got so many players that do that. But there's no one that does the Haaland. That's like a fucking dance move, doesn't it? Do the Haaland.
You do the Haaland. But the thing you said there, that he plays on the left and cuts in, he does. But he is one of the, like another rare type, though, where he plays on the right as well.
Yeah.
And hugs the touchline and gets assists from the right, which now it's all this obsessiveness in it, being an opposite side player and cutting in, getting a pass inside, which I love, by the way. But you don't really see many players hug the touchline. His pace allows him to do that. I don't think, even though he's quick, Sterling, I don't think he could play on the right side, hug the touchline and beat the fullback.
Whereas technically good enough either, is he, with his crossing and his execution on the ball?
Whereas Mbappe does it quite effortlessly, and then you've got the argument, so it's in League One, so does it really matter?
Not English League One, by the way. The fucking
League One, League One. But you can't tell me he's going to play against fucking Brighton's left back and have trouble at the same time. So
no, I mean, I was saying to you, it's a bold statement to say, has he done it yet? Obviously, he's done it. He's won everything other than the Champions League that he can win, and he is obviously quality. But when I've played against him. When we've played against them, fucking hell, I thought you cut off again there. When we played against them, Liverpool, he's scored against us, isn't but he hasn't really troubled us, has he? He hasn't had us on toast or anything.
No. Well, I went to that game, and the one who was more threatening out of the two was Neymar. And Mbappe did score in the game, and he turned round to the cop where I was.
Yeah.
And
wasn't he shushing us or something?
Yeah, he went like that with his hands out, and the fella in front of me just went, "Fuck off, you French frog!" It was fucking funny, like, but just looking at his stats there, like, I mean, they are what they are, aren't they? Like, they're no surprise. That's probably what you'd expect from him thereabouts. Probably
move us out the way there, lad.
What's that?
Move us out the way, our little pictures, so we can see it properly.
It's on your screen now.
Oh, I'll do it. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Got a technophobe in the house, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, 33 and 29. You hell, that's stupid, that isn't it? And 7 assists. I think that's what's telling, isn't it? More than anything else, that he's getting assists as well as the goals. And so you're talking there 40 contributions, aren't you, in 29 games?
Yeah. And then you got his Champions League below it as well, which is not. We nearly won the Champions League last year. And I'll just click on Haaland for a sec. And then that's what you're dealing with him. Ignore the top one because that's just German FA Cup. So if we go on them stats, that's another ridiculous one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a stupid return. What's happened in the 1920 season? Was he injured or something?
Haaland.
Didn't have a lot of games there, did he?
That's the Champions League.
No.
That one, above.
Matches.
It's Bundesliga, innit? He signed mid-season.
Oh, shit, yeah, that's right.
So that's this season so far here. And then he signed in January and got 15 goal contributions in 15 games.
Can't argue with that.
He would have been like, what, 18, 19? It's just mad, isn't it, seeing that he was born in Leeds?
Yeah. Well, I was, when we put that post up the other day, a little bit of a bitter post, you might say, but things that have happened since Everton last won at Anfield. Haaland wasn't even alive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Leeds General Hospital hadn't delivered that miracle yet.
Fucking hell. Exactly. I said that to me dad, like, it's mad thinking that there's kids out there that have never seen Everton win at Anfield, or young men.
Yeah.
They were going to...
My godson, he was the only reason I wasn't happy at all, but I was happy for him because it was his 17th birthday, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And he'd never seen it, so I thought, fucking hell, give him his due. And he can come back in 38 when he's 39 and see if there's something else going on.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, coming back to some realism then and getting out of the fantasy realm with Haaland and Mbappe and Firmino not really scoring, he's not far off 30. All the front three are not far off 30, by the way. I don't think it matters as much as people say. It's a bit like a mad analogy is the undefeated record in boxing. It doesn't really matter. Who gives a fuck? So who gives a fuck if you pass 30, and you're a footballer at the top level? But they are going up to 30 and FSG's profile is all that Moneyball type thing, is it? Or have they come away from that a bit?
Potentially with the signing of Thiago, you could say maybe they have. Although Thiago, he, as I say, he was pennies, weren't he, in the grand scheme? So they could probably front the cost for that. I can notice, though, with Salah, his game's changing and he's making smarter and better timed runs. He's not running every run now. He's timing it better. But me and you spoke on this ages ago. We were saying, like, Firmino's a player forever because he's never been fast. So he's never going to lose his pace. So he'll be able to play like that when he's 40. But I don't know what it is, lad. Like, he hasn't got that sharpness that he had 2 or 3 seasons ago. And people will say it's this year, but it was last year too. And like we said, when you're winning games, you don't question anything. But then when you look back at it, and the minutiae, the detail, and you see the fuck ups were there then, it's interesting. And you're right. They're at the end of the cycle, you might say, as all the pundits do say. So Jota's being bought in for that. Salah's still the prime guy. Mane's fell off the face of the earth for some reason. Bring a Haaland into that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe change Firmino into a 10.
Well, you keep mentioning Jota, even off camera when we just talk normally, but he's not enough. He's just like a 23-year-old we signed from Wolves, and he has come in and hit the ground running. But I don't think you can really talk about him and be like, and we've got Jota there.
Well,
not yet, anyway.
Rely on him, should you? That's
no, not yet. When Jota's 25, 26, I think then he's...
Great age.
He can be on the level Mane was on at one point. And but yeah, we need to bring someone else in, and that's the whole point of this episode, really, or a mini episode, whatever you want to call it. Like, who would you go for? What would you do with the front three, or any signings you'd make? Not even maintaining realism over it. If you would go for fantasy transfers, like we've mentioned here, in the Haaland sense, but say Mbappe, for example, what's he running you there? 200 mil.
North of 150, depending on the length of his contract.
So I think that one's safe to say it's off the table, despite all the links we've had with him via online. But
And then what are his wages then on top of that?
I
North of
think that
200?
yeah, that's the kicker with signings rather than the actual transfer fee. Because if you think of a fee, you'd have to negotiate it, wouldn't you, to like 30 million a year for someone like Mbappe, unless you're Man City, PSG, who actually pays up front for a transfer. It's very rare actually. Did you hear about Ronaldo when he signed for Juve?
No. Oh, was it the deal with KA or something?
There was many deals like that, and that's the thing that you get with a player like Mbappe, though. It's all the, you know, upsales that come with it. So when Ronaldo signed for Juve, I think they made, I don't know what the shirt sales were for the entire season the year before, but when he signed on the first day, they made something like $60 million in selling Juventus shirts.
Yeah, didn't he get back something stupid like 40% of his yearly wages in like
Yeah,
that weekend? And I know it was Fiat because they're Italian, aren't they? There was a
yeah.
deal with them which was all involved with it. Like Fiat party Juventus' sponsorships, and Ronaldo would get something like 8% of the revenue that they made through Fiat. And you're like, you're not buying. That I think boils down to why Liverpool won't make them signings, because you're not buying a player, you're buying a brand. And that's
Yeah.
why, for me, Paul Pogba's shit, because he's Paul Pogba the brand. He's not Paul Pogba the exceptional midfield player, and that's why we wouldn't go for Mbappe. But I just
You
want
got
to go on.
what you got to think now as well. It's all the social media followers they've got. So Ronaldo's got the most social media followers out of anyone. You know, Kylie Jenner and all them, not Justin Bieber. Ronaldo has more followers. So let's discount the bots and write 50 million off. I think he's got 250 million followers, on Instagram.
Hmm.
Like, isn't that just ridiculous? It's nearly the whole country of the USA, give or take 100 mil.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
good point,
I think
because
it's less than that.
when we signed the deal with Nike. You'd have to
Yeah, sorry, he's got
I can't see that. Your background's in the way.
267 million followers anyway. But just keep what you were saying there. So when you're signing him, let's just call 67 million of them, maybe even more bots. But you've got 100 million people, 150 million, who will maybe put the pocket in because they just follow Ronaldo, the brand, like you
Yeah.
say. And then because of that, by default, they'll buy something that Juventus sell to them. And that is the type of structured deal that you're going to have with a player like Mbappe, more so than Haaland, because Mbappe's a lot more marketable, isn't he? And it's a shame that it is like that in a way with the Pogba thing, like you say. Pogba will make Man United a shit ton of money just by being Paul Pogba and being there, no matter how bad his form is.
Well, he wears Adidas boots. They're sponsored by Adidas. There's all that, isn't there? Or is he Puma now? I don't know, but he was Adidas when they signed him. But no, it's a fair point. And as I was just saying there with Nike, that was the deciding vote when we signed Nike, because there was a deal with New Balance that New Balance could match any offer that we had.
Yeah,
Matched the offer, we'd stay with New Balance. So they matched it. It went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And a long story short, Nike was saying LeBron James, Drake, and Venus Williams, they were named in the court. Drake was in the dock as a witness. They were saying they will be promoting Liverpool, and they've got X amount of followers. Can you say the same to New Balance? And they said no. But they tried to dispute that as inconsequential evidence. And the Court of Arbitration for Sport said, well, how can you? That they've just named nearly 1 billion people that will be viewing Liverpool, and you can't match that. So it's the world that we're in now. But just speaking of signings, I'd seen a few articles I read the other day, and I wanted to run this by you, because the other week we were talking about signings that we'd sign at centre half. And I was talking about fucking hell. Who's the kid I kept mentioning from Atleti?
Jimenez.
Yeah, no, yeah, Jimenez. I was talking about him, But there's been talk that Rafa Varane's refused a contract at Real Madrid, and Liverpool are going in heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with that. And he'd compliment Van Dijk. He'd compliment Van Dijk very well. You know, right-footed, left-footed, quite similar. But Real Madrid I mean, again, I come back to the thing, and I'm blue in the face saying this, but there aren't really many good centre-backs anyway, because Real Madrid's defensive record is shite. They're shit defensively. They concede loads. So I'd sign Varane, like, you know, he's better than what's available out there if he does become available. So you'd have to be going for him. And I think at one point he was the youngest player who'd won everything. World Cup, multiple Champions League titles, all that stuff. So he held that accolade. It might still be him, I don't know, but it was a quiz question. I'd seen, you know, who's the youngest, blah blah blah, and at the time he was 25 or something, and he'd already won a lot, which is crazy. But I'd go for him, like, definitely, like, if he becomes available, because that's just 2 centre backs for the next 5 years done, innit?
Yeah, and apparently he's had a glowing endorsement from Benitez, but as well, like, he apparently
just said to recommend, smiley face, and that was it.
A thumbs up and a matador. But yeah, apparently Rafa didn't like a lot of the players there, but he said he was top level, and the pragmatist that he is, that's good praise, isn't it? But
yeah.
So yeah, I would go for Haaland out of the two of them. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility, but I do not see us signing him.
I agree on both. Yeah. I'm just,
it's a shame.
When I said there, the next 5 years, that'd be your centre backs. Like, Van Dijk's 29, but realistically, he can still do what he's doing, age 34.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he needs pace, but when he lets himself go and he bursts, he is quick. So maybe his pace will decline in the next coming years, but he's that smart, that intelligent. He doesn't really need that recovery pace. So you probably have Van Dijk there another 5 years, and you'd need a pacey centre-back to complement him in the long run, a bit like a Sami Hyypiä. Well, Carragher wasn't that quick either, was he? So
Carragher was quick, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, like that. But I didn't know that about Varane, so I'd be snapping their hands off for him.
Yeah, I'd be looking at that one closely. I mean, imagine in the summer we talk about fantasy, but imagine we sign Varane and Haaland. Like, they're marquee signings, aren't they? And, you know, it'd be fucking sick. But
they're the type of signings that make you go out buying a full kit.
Full kit with the matching Astros, like the Suicide Squad in Burnley, that we spoke about in the past.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
Good times indeed.
So, and then should we wrap that one up?
Go ahead. We'll get this one out in about a week or so.
Yeah.
And it's, there are always a couple of people who can tell you, yeah, but you didn't win. So now, let's talk about 6, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be.